Hi everyone, this is Muti. Welcome to QA automation classes. So in the last session we have started the introduction to the CSS selectors and what is the difference between the CSS selector and the express selector. Okay, so today we are going to start with the how to actually identify the objects using the CSS. Okay, so the first thing is to select by ID, right? So for the ID we have to use the symbol hash. Okay, so let's open application where we can demo this. So let's say source demo. Yeah, okay, so let's go to sourcedemo.com, and here if you see there are two things, one is the username, one is the password. Okay, so let's say inspect, let's see do we have any ID here. Okay, so let's go and check the username field. So if you see, it started with the tag input and type equals to text, data text, ID equals to username. See, you can say it has ID and name, both it is there. So how to identify it using the ID? So we know with the help of the expath we can write, right? But now with the help of the CSS, how to write? So Control F, so username, right? So I have told you earlier, for the ID we need to use hash, right, for the CSS. So hash username, when you say, you can see one of one is getting highlighted, right? So the username field is can be identified if the ID is there with the help of the hash and then the username. What is the ID? You can write that ID. Okay, partially if you give, it won't identify. Okay, so it's a complete name you have to give, hash username, that means it is the ID. So I'll just copy this one. Okay, so this is nothing but your let me open this one. So we'll see different types of the CSS. Okay, so by ID. Okay, so start with blank canvas. Okay, so okay, so now you can say text. Okay, so hash username, this is, you can say select by ID. Okay, so select by ID. Okay, so you can write like this, select by ID, you can write like this, hashtag and then user hyphen name. So this is select by ID, right? And if you want to specify the tag also, you can specify the tag name also, right? So here you can say if you want to, let's say there are multiple username fields are there, right? And you want to specify the different tag, right, in the starting tag. So here also you can say input. Okay, so first it will go and identify that tag input, and after that with the ID username, it is going to identify that particular username. Okay, so this is also possible. Okay, so let me write it over here. Okay, this is the first way, this is the second way. Okay, these two way you can write. So next one is the class. Okay, so for the class I have told we can use the dot. Okay, so how to use it? So let's see any element has the class or not here. So here we don't have input class is there, right? See, input error form. Let's check for something else. We have already seen the username field. Similarly for the password, about the login button. Let's see the login button or the submit button. Okay, so here you can see submit button space btn action, right? So now if I have to select, right, so I have already told how to use. We can use dot, right, dot for the class. So how to use the dot for the class? So you can write okay, copy this one. Now let's say dot and then give this one. But if you see, it doesn't identify. Why it doesn't identify? Because if you see, there is a space in between these two, right? So the space you need to give dot. Okay, so you have to replace the space with the dot, right? So it is the way of identifying the element through the CSS. If there is a space in between, let's say class, that means the multiple classes are there, right? So here those multiple classes are separated by the space. So now while identifying them through the CSS, you have to replace that with the dot, then only it will work. Okay, so let's say that is important to remember. Then let's say by ID by class. Okay, so by class, so by class you can write like this. Okay, so spaces, space should be replaced by dot. Okay, so this is the main point we should remember. Okay, and here also we can use the in your tag, and then you can use the CSS. So let's see here also what is the tag input. So I can also write here input dot submit button dot button action. So now these are the two ways you can use the class. Okay, so you can use by class. So for the class you need to use the dot, and if there is a space in between the class name, make sure you have to separate them with the dot, not the space. The space should be there. Okay, and this is through the use of the class. Okay, and then we have seen one more with the tag name, right? So how to use the tag name, right? So you have seen in yesterday's session I was showing. So we can use the tag name, and within the square bracket we can say attribute equals to value, right? So let's try to do that. Okay, so for the same submit button, right, and we can use we have the class, right? So let's use the with the help of the tag. Okay, so maybe we can do okay, so let's do one more thing. Okay, got it. So now let's say using attribute. Okay, so let's say using attribute. So using attribute, so how to use the attribute? Okay, so to use attribute we can use the syntax is tag name. Okay, and then within the square bracket you say attribute equals to value. Okay, so this is the syntax. Okay, so attribute, you say attribute equals to value. Okay, so this is the syntax. So let's do the use the same syntax to identify the select submit button. Okay, so if you see the submit button here, right, so what we say, so we say here we have class is there, right? So let's use the attribute tag here. So now we can say the starting tag is input, so I'll set input, and then I'll say the class. Okay, so class I can mention here. Let me remove this everything after input. Okay, so now square bracket. Okay, after square bracket you can say what is the class. So class equals to, I'll say the class is, let me inspect over it. Okay, so class equals to this one. Okay, copy the entire thing within the single quote, right? Okay. So now one thing you have to understand here. Okay, so whenever you are writing the attribute equals to value, if there is a space in between, don't remove that space with dot. Okay, you don't have to do that. Let's try to do that. Let's see what happens. See, so when I replace the space with dot, it showed me 0 of 0, right? So we should never replace the space with the dot when we are trying with the attribute. Make sense? Using the tag name and attribute equals to value, whenever we were trying this type of the CSS locator, we should never replace the space in between the class name or any other attribute name with the dot. Okay, so that is one more important point to remember. So this is how you can use. So this is your tag name attribute equals to value. Okay, so this is the example for that, right? Okay, fine. So now, okay, so we can use any other backend attribute that is available, right? So we can see let's find few other things with the help of that. Okay, so now one thing is, if you are trying to find the username, let's go to the username and see. Let's understand this username field first a little bit more. Okay, so now if you see here, we have the input type equals to submit. No, not this one. This is the one. Okay, so I can get rid of this xpath, sorry, css. Okay, so now here if you see the username, how to uniquely identify the web element. Okay, so you can combine the right, what you can say, combine with the some other attribute, right? So let's say this username. Okay, so input class equals to input error from input. Okay, and if you see for the password also, we have the same class, input error from input. So with the help of the class, if I try to identify, right, so I'll get more than one element that will get identified with that, right? So let's write that one. Okay, so class, for the class we know we have to use the dot. Okay, so dot notation, and then so copy this one. Okay, and there is a space in between. I have already told space has to be replaced with dot. So now you can see one of two things are getting highlighted. One is the username and one is the password. Okay, and if you want to keep the tag also, you can keep. Okay, so I can make what is the tag, input tag for both of them, right? If the tags are different, then we can put the tag, it could have given us the unique element, but in here both the tags are also input tag, right? So now what to do in this case? So we can combine with something else. So whatever current css we have developed, we can combine it with some other with some other input, with some other backend attribute that has given, right? So in this case, if you see, right, so we can combine with the what is unique here. If you see, the username is unique here, right? So id is the unique, right? And so how to use that? Okay, so for the username we can say input, okay, dot input error dot from underscore input, right? But you can use let's use id. So how to use the id? So id can be used with the help of the hash, right? So you can say, so input. Okay, so first I will identify the id. So how to use id? Input, after input I'll say hash. Okay, hash, and then give the id. Okay, and then dot, this is the class name. So what we did here, if you see, first we have given the tag, okay, your HTML tag. After tag name, we first identified a unique attribute from here. So id is unique here. Similarly, password is unique here. Both the IDs are unique in both the cases. So we can say dot hashtag, because for id we have to give the hash, so hash username. Okay, so then after that, if you want, you can give the class name to identify. So this is the way to describe how exactly you can club multiple ways of identification in a particular CSS locator, right? So here if you see, we are using id as well as we are using the class, because we have the hash for the id and dot for the class. Okay, so this is the combination. Okay, so let's say combining multiple, right? So combining the multiple attributes. Okay, how to combine the multiple attributes? So multiple attribute can be combined. Okay, so now this is the example. Okay, so this is example, combining the multiple attribute. Okay, let me expand it a little more. Okay, so you here, if you see, we are first identifying with the help of the hash, that is id, and then with the class name we're identifying one particular element. Okay, and there might be one more case. Okay, if there are some other backend attribute if you want to use, right? So that also you can use. I'll just show you that one how to use with the help of the this one. Okay, so maybe we can see here. So other backend attribute we can use, let's see here. Okay, so here if you see there is something called as the data hyphen test. Okay, so here we can use with the tag name and then attribute equals to value. So tag name is equals to input here, so I'll say input, and after input you will say what is this, data hyphen test. Okay, so that is one of the attribute, so I'll say data hyphen test equals to. Okay, so what is the data hyphen test? That is a username. Okay, so within the single quote we can give that username. So now if you see, one is getting highlighted, right? So we are able to identify with the help of this CSS selector. Okay, using backend attribute, let's say, okay, I can say here using backend attributes. This is already we have seen, just a refresh. Okay, so this is one. Here also you can club multiple things. Okay, so multiple backend attribute you can combine. Okay, so now we have username, and if you see in the username we have one more name is equals to also username. So how to combine this one? So input data test equals to username. If you want to combine it again, you can say bracket, okay, and the name equals to copy the username here. Okay, so now if you put like this, name equals to username, so now also if you see, this is able to identify that username. So we have used the, whenever let's say there is some dynamic thing like username 123, next time when you open it becomes username 456, right, whatever. So in that case you can use this like if something is dynamically changing, right, we can use that star function there. But here I'm saying if you are not able to identify using one set of value uniquely, in that case you can go with the multiple backend attributes. Okay, so and you can combine them like this. So tag name, and then you pick the attribute equals to value, and within that square bracket, and then again if you want to add one more, because with that whatever you have it is not unique. Okay, let's say username, there are two fields with the username. So now again you go with the another backend attribute, within the square bracket you can paste name equals to username. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear, and in the next session we'll be seeing the string matching conditions. Okay, so that all to this session, guys. If you guys are really enjoying these classes, I'll request you to subscribe to my channel Q Automation Classes, and please share these videos with your friends and colleagues so that they can also get benefited out of it. Please do subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I'll be getting back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a good day.